This mini-training was developed by the Maryland Restorative Approaches Collaborative, a partnership between the Maryland State Department of Education and the Center for Dispute Resolution at the Maryland Francis King Carey School of Law to support restorative approaches across Maryland. This presentation first aired April 14, 2021 in a webinar hosted by the Restorative Approaches Collaborative. The full webinar is titled Why Restorative Approaches and is available on CDRUM's Restorative Approaches Resources website. In this segment from the webinar, Barbara Groeschel and Chella Drew share stories about how restorative approaches, specifically small impromptu conversations in circles, can help us to understand who students are and where they come from. This is what is needed from educators in order for students to have the best access to their education and feel included in their school community.
And this work happens in those smaller conversations, those small impromptu conversations. It might be the small circles and finding the time. That's the structure. That's the head part. How, as an administrator, are we going to support it and create time for this? But we must, because what we're doing right now is not working. I'll never forget years ago, I was doing some consulting in a school, and I was asked to try out circles with 4 young boys. They were Black, and they were from poor families, and they were really struggling in their behavior. They were rocking the school on a daily basis, and everybody was pulling their hair out. So a very wise assistant principal said, I'd like to see whether circles can help. And do you know, we had a circle that engaged these students. One of them passed the first go round, and that was okay. And then they started talking and reflecting about their own behavior. And at the end, I will never forget, I said, so how was this today, guys? I had a behavior interventionist, an assistant principal, and somebody from the local school system who wanted to watch. And I don't do observers. They were part of the circle. And that student said, great, can you come back and do this on Monday? That engagement, that safe place had been lacking. And the administrator jumped in and said, yeah, we're going to do this regularly. She was going to make the time. And then afterwards, I found out that these children, one of them was homeless. And every day he would get off the school bus and stand and face the wall. He and his family were living in a hotel. And the rates were going to be rising because of the seasonal nature of where they live. And it was really hard. We need to have those small conversations in some format. Chella has another brief story that demonstrates the same point.
Thinking about one of the schools that I work with, there was a student, a young lady, 4th grade, who came to school one day and she had her hood on her head, which, is not allowed. And her teacher was going straight into school policy, school code, dress code, take the hood off your head. The girl had put her head down. She was refusing to remove the hood. She sent her to the office. And when she gets to the office, they learned that the girl was ashamed of her hair because her father had just passed. And her mother had recently passed and her father had done her hair, and it wasn't neat or pretty the way she wanted it. So she had a hood on because she was ashamed of how she looked. And when they took the time to talk to her and find out, they were able to talk with a staff person in the building who was able to do the young lady's hair, and she could go to class feeling good about herself. But the teacher had gone straight into the punitive response and was fix yourself, take the hood off, go to the office, where if she had just taken the time to touch base with this child, find out what's happening, understanding people's stories, right? What does this child need right now to help meet her needs so she can then meet our expectations? We got to consider who people are, where they're coming from, and what their circumstances are at all times.
This video is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License by the Center for Dispute Resolution at the University of Maryland, Francis King Carey School of Law.